All right, it's time for the prep spotlight. We have a special one today. A couple of great coaches in our area. We're going to start off here with Chesaning's head coach Matt Weigl, undefeated 15-0, coming off a big win on Friday night. I guess I'll just start it off, Coach. First of all, thanks for joining us, and second of all, how's it feel being 15-0?
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, I love the show. It feels great. I mean, we couldn't ask for anything more when we started the season to be 15-0. We hope every game that we're going to put ourselves in a position to be successful and to win the game and to be able to win all 15, especially since we've had some battles, some tough ones, double overtime at OE, overtime at Durand, tough Lake Fenton team the first game of the season. A close one at Mount Morris just last week. So to be able to, handle those ups and downs and for our guys to figure out ways to win tough games, it's been really special so far.
For sure. And I remember, hearing you talk about the 15-0 and thinking about potentially running the table. I remember last year we talked to Coach Morrill, Laingsburg's coach last year, and I forget at what point it was in the season we talked to him, but it was around this time. They were undefeated. And we basically threw the question out, is running the table something you guys talk about now? Obviously everyone before the season talks about goals, win your conference, win your district, win your region, state championship. You set those benchmarks. But at this point, running the table and having a perfect season is there. Do you guys talk about that, or is it just a one game at a time type of approach?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a one game at a time approach. And so when we look at our goals at the beginning of the season, we take, I think maybe it's a little different approach. Our goal is to simply get better every single day. And we really reduce that to every possession. We want to make sure we're competing every possession. And that's kind of how we evaluate how we played the night before, how we practice. Again, we hope that by getting better every day and by competing all the time, we'll put ourselves in positions to win games. But these guys have not talked about being 15-0 at all. Not a single time. I think it's probably more pressure for us as coaches, not wanting to let them down or not letting anybody in the community down. But these guys, they're still silly before the games. They're, they're goofy during practice. Still, it's still really light. And then when we need to compete, we focus on competing, and that's it. We narrow it down just to that: compete every possession.
Forgive me, Coach, but I actually haven't had the chance to watch you guys yet this year. But from Ted's prep spotlight every week and seeing Argus Press headlines, sounds like you got quite the stud in Mason Struck. To somebody who hasn't seen him play, how would you describe his game and what makes him so good?
Mason he's got incredible footwork for the high school game. He can finish with both hands around the basket. He's 64% from two right now.
Wow.
Which is incredible. And he's improved his shooting. He can step back. He can hit the three. He's gotten much better from the free throw line as of late. He's got a nice mid-range game. So he's really, if you compare him to, look at the college guys out there, he's a very skilled, undersized four, but for our level of high school basketball, 6'6", right. He's perfect size. Yeah. But if you want to look at, guys that are D2, D1, he's that skilled four-man who can really finish well, who's got good footwork. He's been great for us. He's having a special season as well individually. I think the coolest thing about Mason though is he'll be the first one to credit his teammates. He's totally unselfish. He'll be the first guy to say it's my great teammates that have been setting me up and drawing out some pressure on him, and he's handling it great. He's doing a great job for us. But he's a special player and he's having a great season.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your key players. I know you got some good guards that can dish it off to Mason and do some damage themselves. Talk about some of the other players you got there helping out this year.
Yeah, Nate Ferry, if you haven't seen him play, he is tremendous defensively. I think I'll feel confident in saying he's the best defensive player I've ever coached. He's absolutely one of the top, if not the best that I've even ever seen in this league anyways. The way he can pressure the ball, the way he, can time up his steals, and then what he does with it afterwards. Absolutely. He's set Mason up countless times. whether it's pick and roll or breaking down a zone and finding the soft spots and finding them. He's been terrific. He actually just broke our all-time career steals record last night. Earlier this week, he broke the single game school record or tied it, the single game school record. So he's having a tremendous season. Our juniors are really stepping up too. We graduated 6 seniors last year, and so we weren't sure what we were going to look like outside of Mason and Nate this year. But we've got some juniors that are stepping up there. They're bringing the success that they've had over the baseball season last year to these 2 guys, Max Volk, Brady Sager on the regional baseball team last year, both on the football team, which had a great season, obviously, this fall. And so they're bringing that success with them onto the basketball court as well. They play with confidence. They play super hard. They're really competitive. They've been really stepping up and helping us out. Luke Barta, he was a soccer guy for us, and they've had tremendous success in the soccer program here the last couple of years as well. He's super consistent. Braden Florian, I think he led the state in rushing, if not pretty close to it. He brings that football mentality onto the basketball court. He's 100 miles per hour all the time. And then we got some guys who are giving us really good minutes off the bench and kind of the end of our rotation with Dylan James and Eric Barancic. Eric is going to be one of the top high jumpers in the state. Dylan James is a senior for us and really just consistent and steady. And then we got guys who really bring the energy on the bench. So it's really it's been an 11-man effort. Every single guy is playing their role to perfection, as that's what you need at this time of the year.
Yeah, you've got to have that depth. I mean, you're every team, if you're going to have success, you're going to have 1 or 2 superstars. You got leaders, guys that are going to lead the way, but you got to have that depth. You got to have
absolutely.
Guys there's going to be some little injuries, but you've got to have some glue pieces, right? You can't just play 5 guys in high school basketball. You've got to have some depth.
You can't. You're right. You got to have guys who can come off the bench and who know their role, because, like you said, you're a sprained ankle away from your team looking drastically different at the high school level, and so everyone's got to be prepared. Everyone's got to be ready to step up if needed.
Yeah. I was in my playing days, I was one of those bench players. So I take pride in coming off the bench and being that spark plug. Speaking of
Yes.
Speaking of those days, so when I played, it was the early 2000s. I graduated 2003 from Corona. And so this was back before conference realignment and all that kind of stuff. Chesaning was, one of our rivals, of course. One of my favorite gyms to play in, honestly. I always think of Durand. And I always think of Chesaning as 2 of the gyms that I loved playing in because the fans, I mean, I'm telling you, of course, all 4 of us know, fans are right there on the court. I mean, yes. I remember a play vividly that I went to dive for a loose ball. I ended up in like the lap of some parents in the first row. And I always think of, I don't know if it's changed, but back then the lighting was like kind of orange. You'd walk in and your eyes would have to kind of adjust a little bit. It was like, I don't know if that's changed, but that's what I remember. So I want to ask you, on top of the gym and the environment, the community support we've talked about, with the coaches that we have on the podcast, how huge it is in the smaller communities, seeing that gym packed, seeing them come out for other events, seeing them travel to away games. And Chesaning is definitely one of those communities. How cool is it for you to coach in an environment like that gym you guys have, but seeing it, a packed house all the time, whether you're home or away?
Oh no, it's awesome, and it's huge. It's huge for us. It's huge for our players to look up and see their buddies rooting them on, and to see their neighbors in the stands. It's absolutely big for us, and we've had tremendous community support over the last few years. It's grown and grown and grown since I've been here, which is it's just been awesome. I mean, when we get the band in there, when it's a packed house and the student section, it's loud, it's orange. I think it's intimidating, and for us and for our guys, they love it. They feed off of it. So I can't say enough about the students who come back and cheer their players on, the alumni that come back and cheer their school on, and then just the parents and members of the community who just want to show support for our athletics here. It's been great. We love it.
I can't wait to see what that gym will be like. I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm not on the team. Projecting forward, you guys are going to have a great record heading into districts at home. Should be an awesome crowd, filled with a lot of orange, like you said. I have a question about something you sent us before the pod. You sent us kind of the record books that you keep, and I really appreciate that. I remember my junior year of high school, a new football coach came in. Oh, his lights went out.
There we go.
Wasn't moving enough. There we go.
So my junior year of high school, our coach, I'll give him a shout out, Kyle Robinson, came in. We didn't have any school records, and he took it upon himself to really put together a thorough, stat sheet. Why was that important for you to do? And do you think Mason Struck can maybe someday keep climbing those record books and maybe be the all-time leading scorer? I'm not sure how close he is right now, but something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no. It's a similar situation with what you mentioned there with Kyle Robinson. So when I got here, there was a pretty basic record book that was done by at the time our AD Bobby Sager, which I thanked him for. So that was kind of the jumping off point. And then as it got now, and this is my 10th year, and I see this is Mason's 4th year on varsity. I'm like, God, he's got to be close to 1,000, right? Let's start really doing some math and digging in here last year. And I'm like, all right, he's got a shot at 1,000. Well, who are the other 1,000-point scorers? Well, we don't have a list of it. So at that point, I was like, if we're going to acknowledge Mason for scoring 1,000 points, I want to acknowledge as many other players as I can at this point as well. And it just snowballed from there. It became kind of almost an addiction for me. It's definitely a stress reliever. I'm involved in basketball without having to think about the team and all the stresses that we have to go through. So it's been something I've really enjoyed doing, and I've gotten a lot of help along the way. Rick Wesley, Chesaning grad, former coach at Grand Valley State, has sent me some of the stuff. He did the same thing, kept records here. So it's been cool. And I'm still finding out more and more and more. It's unofficial. There's more out there. It's hard to find, but it's been really cool to see some of these things. And as far as Mason goes, Brent Molnar, who, man, I never got to see him play, but I've heard he was just incredible. I don't know if you guys.
He was.
And that's what I've heard. He's the all-time leading scorer at 1441, I think. So Mason would have to average about 30 more points a game throughout the whole season. And I don't know if he's going to get. I sure hope he does, because that means we're going to win some games.
Deep playoff run.
Yes, absolutely. But I think Mason's got a shot at finishing second. He would have to overthrow Dave Petrosky from the 60s, who also had an incredible career scoring number. So it's been really cool. And I'm excited to continue to do it. I'm excited to see some of these records change.
I have one final. Sorry, Matt. I was going to jump in. I have one final question, and I know Matt does too. Should have probably started this at the beginning. You said you've been there 10 years. Give us your background, your walk to Chesaning.
Yeah, so I graduated from Nouvelle in 06, and as you guys mentioned, I was just an average high school basketball player. But I will say we had some. I'll kind of throw some names out there. We had a pretty good group. That 05 season. Blair White was one of our senior guards, who obviously went on to Michigan State and then played for the Colts. Bo Hoffman, who went and played at Southern Illinois, football at Southern Illinois. Tony Ari, who then played for his dad at SVSU. Sean Dwyer, who is now currently one of the head assistant coaches at Loyola with Drew Valentine. So there are some guys out there who are pretty skilled, pretty talented, but I was just your average player in high school. And then when I graduated, I kind of stepped away from the game. And I'm a teacher. So when I was coming back into teaching, I saw Chesaning had an opening for a teacher and a basketball coach. And I thought, why not? And Bobby Sager took a chance on me. And so my first teaching job and my first coaching job was here at Chesaning. So it's been an incredible journey for 10 years. And I mean, as I'm beginning to find out, 10 years is pretty long for high school basketball coaches. Usually the stint is shorter than that. So I don't know how long they'll keep me here, but it's been great so far.
It is, especially in, excuse me, in some communities where you don't have year in and year out, all state caliber stud players coming in and year out. We grew up in an area too where, it kind of goes in waves. You might have a 3, 4, 5 year run, but then you might have a 3 or 4 year run where talent is just maybe down a little bit. So, sometimes it's just kind of the name of the game, but it falls on the coach. And,
absolutely.
You might lose your job because of it. But no, it sounds like you are running an awesome program there. So congrats on that. So 2 things. Hearing you talk about the record book, I appreciate the attention to detail, because I've always thought that it is cool I think even in a small community, even a place like Chesaning, Corona, wherever, the record book is cool. I mean, you put in the time and you put in the work and you break some school records. Of course, it's not an NFL record. It's not an NBA record, an NCAA basketball record. It's cool to hold a school record at, somewhere that you put in the work. So, and
Absolutely.
if you're going to do it, you want to make sure that you're doing it right. You don't want to say that someone's breaking a record and then some dude from 20 years ago is like, wait a minute. I scored 20 points, whatever the record is. So I appreciate the attention to detail on the record book, but also the question I want to ask you, when you were breaking down your roster earlier, I was hearing you list track and field, baseball, football, and other sports. In your opinion as a coach and a former athlete, what is the value you think to your athletes playing multiple sports? It seems like a big thing you hear about with athletics now are players kind of focusing on one sport, only playing basketball year round, only wrestling year round, whatever they're into. I personally think it is so valuable to play multiple sports for a number of reasons. But do you think that is helping your team's success, having a bunch of guys who play baseball, track and field, and other things?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's huge. I think everybody should play as many sports as they can, as they're interested in playing. I think it's great for the overall development of a student athlete. Number one for us, again, we talked about, how we always emphasize competing every possession. Well, if you're in multiple sports, if you're playing baseball in the spring and you're doing football in the fall, and then you come to us in the winter for basketball, you've competed year round now, right? And so that's a whole year's worth of you learning lessons from competition, and that's big, right? Mental toughness is something we talk about all the time, and you're training that year round if you're playing multiple sports. You work in different muscles. Your brain is working differently when you're on the soccer field, or the pitch, I should say, versus the basketball court. And that's huge as well. And then it's also, if you're a guy who, and you throw a lot into basketball and that's your main thing, to take some pressure off by playing a secondary sport, I think that's good for your mental health as well. Take a little break from something that you've thrown so much into and focus on something else. And look at Mason Struck, who for all the time, I mean, he's been in a gym for the last 4 years, every day for the last 4 years. Well, he's got Division II football offers right now. He took a chance and played football last year, decided to come out again this fall, and he's got now 2 Division II football offers, and one he's seriously considering. So you never know, and I think it's so important, especially for these smaller schools like us, where the athlete pool isn't always as deep as some of the bigger schools. It helps your community and your athletic program so much by playing multiple sports.
One last question for me, Coach, then we'll let you get out of here, get to practice. In the same vein, I mean, Chesaning just had a great football season. You guys are putting together one hell of a basketball season. Does it seem like you guys are really kind of, moving forward in a positive direction? Do you feel like the excitement around these sports programs in the hallways, under the lights on Fridays, in the gym on Tuesdays and Fridays, is that something you guys are really noticing, kind of a new wave of talent coming through Chesaning?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just special. I mean, all fall we're excited about soccer and we're excited about football. The winter time, we have a really solid wrestling program as well, and of course we're putting together a decent basketball season, so there's excitement there. And then you turn to the fall, where I didn't even mention track. We have a state powerhouse in track here. Yeah. And then of course the baseball team. So yes, it's building, and I think that's where we're getting more and more excitement for every sport, and we're seeing our gym here in the wintertime on a Tuesday in January more full than it's ever been before. And I think it's because of the year-round excitement that brings. And we've been fortunate to have a lot of student athletes these last 3-4 years who are willing to put the work in and really put the time in and make sacrifices to improve themselves and to be part of high school athletics. And we hope it continues as much as it can. And obviously, there's going to be down years ahead, but we just, again, try to compete every day, every possession, and get better. And I think that with that mindset, high school athletic programs can be quite successful.
Coach, you're talking with 3 Cavaliers. Here's my final comment. I know the conferences are all set. You guys got a nice league there in the MMAC. I really think there's some great matchups and good rivalries. Corona's in a different league. That's fine. But I think, why don't you get with Jason, the AD over there, and schedule like periodically a big Saturday night matchup between Chesaning and Corunna. You know, those neighboring schools. I mean, it's a great rivalry with it's good matchup.
No, I agree.
Those were the best games to play. Corunna, Durand, Corunna, Novodelcy,
Chesaning,
Owasso, of course. Yeah.
Oh no, I 100% agree. It was really cool. So what was it? 2 years ago, we finally matched up with Corunna in a district, and we got them over there, and then they came back and got us over here the following year, just last season. And so, but both games just packed houses, lots of energy. No, I agree. Those are the best games, especially, they're only, I don't know, was it 10 miles down the road, straight shot. So, and I love Rocky, and he's doing a great job with those guys as well. So no, I'm all about it. Yeah, we'll definitely get them back on the schedule here for sure.
All right, we'll take receipts. It's recorded here. Coach, we really appreciate the time. I know you got a Monday night matchup, I believe, don't you, with Saginaw, Michigan Lutheran Seminary? Is that coming up? And then you got the districts that we've been talking about. You're hosting. You're 15-0. Keep it rolling. We'll be seeing you down the road. I'm sure we'll be over there for the districts. Best of luck the rest of the way, and thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Thanks for doing your high school segments. It's so awesome when guys are covering high school sports. I feel like that's making a resurgence as well. The coverage of high school sports, and that's due to podcasts like this and guys in the newspapers and doing their thing too. So no, really appreciate you having me. Thank you guys.
All right, Coach. Thanks again. Go get to practice.
All right, we'll do it. Thanks, guys.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcast, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.
Next up on the Prep Spotlight, presented again by Jacobs Insurance Agency, we have the Laingsburg head basketball coach, boys basketball coach, Tim Beebe. And I'll just start it off, Coach. Last year you guys had a great run, made it all the way to the quarters, and this year off to another fantastic start. How's it feel over there in the Berg?
It's pretty good. We're just was struggles early on. We had some guys injured. We weren't at full strength, so we had to fight through that. And we finally got our last guy back a couple weeks ago. And so now we're hopefully just starting to hit our stride.
You guys have one damn good squad. We were able to see you play against Novodelcy earlier this year. You kind of been an interesting season. You had some injuries at the start. You became the head coach only a week before the season started. Can you kind of take me back to those first maybe 48 hours when you realized, hey, I'm going to be the head coach this year? And how important is it to kind of imprint your stamp on the program, but also with that short of a time, kind of just put the best foot forward and keep some of maybe the things that were working in the past as well?
Yeah, it was, the good thing is I was planning on being an assistant. So, I was still connected to the program. It wasn't like I was, just came in there at the last second. So that really helped. And then having, Daniel Morrell's endorsement for it, he really wanted me, wanted me to do it. So that was a big thing with me, is knowing that he, wanted me there and wanted me to, wanted to support me. That was very helpful. So, and then knowing all the kids, having them last year and stuff so it made it a pretty seamless transition, I think, for hopefully from their perspective. For me, it was still a lot to do and a lot to process, but so the first couple of weeks were really a whirlwind. But having a team like the team we have made it a lot easier. So that's kind of how it went.
Yep. Can you talk about, so last season, you guys were two wins away basically from running the table. Perfect season, state championship. You guys fell short in the quarterfinals, and magical run. A lot of guys coming back. Obviously, Xander being one of the big ones coming back, all-stater to this year's team. Can you talk about how your approach is to not let last year, define this year's team? All right, last year was cool. We built something. Maybe we learned some lessons, but this is a new season. How are we going to improve and hopefully finish with that state championship this year as opposed to falling short.
Yeah, we have emphasized that. We don't want. They've done a good job of not just resting on their laurels, and obviously a lot of the guys we had last year are still playing big roles in this year's team. But so we've kind of done it more from let's take a lot of pride in last year, but we also have to create our own identity as a team this year, and so that's what we've really focused on. Let's just be good at the things we can control. Let's play good defense, let's rebound, and let's push the tempo. And so that's been kind of our focus. So yeah, we've taken a lot of things we did last year, but we've also realized like we have different people doing different things. We're not playing a lot of full court man press, for instance, like we did last year, because we don't have the the Jacob Essenbergs and Braden Thomases that we had last year. So that's just one thing that we're doing differently. But yeah, I think they've done a good job of just knowing we have to every night we have to go out and create our own tempo, and so they've been very good at that.
Coach, give us your little thumbnail sketch of your career. You've had some coaching stops. Just tell us a little bit how you've made your way over to be the head coach of the Laingsburg Wolfpack.
Well, ironically, my first coaching stint was at Laingsburg. I was I student taught there, and I coached for Greg Mitchell for 3 years. So that's really where I kind of cut my teeth in the coaching ranks and learned a ton from him. Obviously a great mentor.
Good mentor.
And yeah, so who knows, I might still be there, but I got a teaching job at Hazlitt, and then of course I started coaching in their boys program there for several years, helping Rob Porritt. He took over the job about the same time that I started teaching at Hazlitt, so helped him for a while, and then I kind of got asked if I was interested in coaching in the girls program there, so I took that job, coached JV for a few years, and took the varsity job there. I think I was the head coach there for 7 years, and then got out of it for a while. My kids were coming up, so it was busy time. I actually was coaching 3 sports. My wife was like, "Yeah, we're not going to do this forever." So yeah. Anyway, so and then we moved out to Laingsburg just by chance. We wanted to live on a lake, and so we moved out here, and then I started coaching at Perry, which is the girls program there. Kind of a long story how I got hooked into that, but short version of it was Rob Porritt took the football job, asked me to come out and coach football with him out there, so I did. And then of course they knew that I had a basketball background and got into the basketball program there, and then started helping Doug Hurst just a little bit when I gave that up just for fun, and here at Laingsburg coaching the girls. And then Daniel asked me last year to switch over to the boys, and so that's what I did. Here I am.
You mentioned Coach Porritt. He used to coach against my dad way back when he was head coach at Corona and he was at Hazlitt. How important was it for you to get him onto your staff this year, and how much has it helped having him, an experienced guy like him, on your staff as you're kind of going through those first few weeks of injuries and being a newly head coach? How much has he helped you guys?
Oh, a ton. I mean, he's we've worked together for years. We went to high school together, and then he was my assistant actually at Perry for a couple of years with the girls. So that was my first move was to find somebody that I knew I could trust, and had a lot of the same beliefs. But we don't coach exactly the same, which I think is great. We kind of ping pong off one another, and his experience is it's been very helpful. But another thing people don't know is he is actually the JV coach for Daniel 3 years ago. So when a lot of these guys I think were freshmen, he coached for a season. So that was another thing, is that he knew a lot of the kids and the kids knew him. So that was another key component of just kind of trying to make it as seamless of a transition as possible.
Yeah, we know head coaches are only as good as the coaches they surround themselves with. You hear that a lot. That's a very important part of being a successful head coach. Another part, I think, that we've talked about in this prep spotlight with a bunch of coaches and with ourselves, another part of being successful is having a strong youth program. And I have a family in the Laingsburg community, and 2 of my nephews, shout out to Jake and Jaden Mills, they play basketball at the youth level. They're young, they're coming up. And I know through talking to them and my family there that you guys really have a strong youth program. Can you talk about how important that is to you to have, the youngsters coming up and learning how the value of hard work and your program, whether it's volleyball, soccer, basketball, whatever sport it is?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten my hands into that as much just because of the timing of when I took
Right.
over. But I, the kids, they come play at halftime of all of our games, and they, form a tunnel as we come out. And our aux gym is always used by youth programs, so we get to see how busy they are in there, and it's super important. And that started with Greg Mitchell. I mean, I think he created that whole atmosphere of and kids now, they just take pride in the fact that they're a part of a program that's had some success through the years. And yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, and all the other, coaching stints I've had, that's been a big component of, of being successful, because you got that interest in the lower levels, and the kids they just want to play. I have to recruit kids to come out.
Right.
They're always there. So, yeah.
Well, not to shortchange all the other programs over there at Laingsburg, but the Wolfpack, Laingsburg Wolfpack, it's a basketball school, man. There's no question about it. You got some big games coming up. You're undefeated right now, but you got Perry Tuesday night, and then there's a February 12th matchup against the Freeland Falcons. Jared has a connection to that. We all do, actually.
Yeah.
What about the big games on your schedule? You looking forward to those?
Yeah, we are. We're pretty busy here. We had a makeup, so we've actually got 3 games in a row. We got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week.
Oh, wow.
And so it's kind of like a triple prep. We're going to practice today in the afternoon, a little while, just to shorten the prep, give us a little more prep time. But Perry, yeah, they're playing really well. They're well coached. They've got some skilled kids, so that's not a game that we can. The kids know it's a crosstown rival, so they'll be ready. And then Saranac, we haven't even played them yet, so we do have to do some extra work for that one, which is the good thing is they play the night before too, so it's not like anybody's got an advantage of being tired.
Right.
And then we've got Lansing Christian on Thursday, so that's the only away game, so it helps having 2 home games. But yeah, and then of course it's Freeland, and we've watched them. We went and watched them play, and we've got watched them on film, and they're extremely talented. So yeah, that's going to be that was one of our goals in the off season, was to get some teams on our schedule that we thought maybe could help us in the tournament. Because we felt like that was one thing our kids, not that they couldn't play with E-course last year, they were kind of shocked, at the pace and so forth. And so, right away that got us in we fell behind, and then we played them even after they kind of realized like, hey, we can play with these guys. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to play some tough teams in the summer and get teams like Freeland on their schedule. So yeah, we're looking forward to that one.
I know you don't want to look ahead too much, but that matchup, I can't wait. I've had it circled all year. You guys love to push the pace. You got a guy that can, put up 40 points if he wants to. And Xander, they've got a stud, sophomore Wilson Huckabee, who can fill it up. That should be a really fun matchup, and it's going to be really high flying and high paced. What have you seen from Freeland, and what is kind of going to be a key to kind of win that game?
Well, I mean, they've got the two big kids. The one kid dunks it every time he gets it near the hoop. Right. So he jumps out of the gym. So they've got him. They've got the other big kid, and then of course, the guard is really good. Now I haven't really done a lot of prep for him just because don't want to disrespect our other opponents. But it's just fun to look ahead and say, what are we actually getting ourselves into? So just kind of watching a couple of their games. But yeah, it should be a good one. I mean, they come at you from a lot of different angles, and I think we do the same.
Well, final question for you, Coach, from me anyway. You got Xander Woodruff coming off a 42-point performance. We know he's the key cog on your team, but we haven't had a chance to talk about some of your other players and what they bring to the table. Why don't you throw out a few names and how they contribute?
Well, Ty Randall, of course, is he's getting back from, he had Tommy John surgery, and so he didn't play any football, and he came back and we missed it. We got him back this 3rd game of the year, and so he's just starting to hit his stride, and he's just a versatile, player, can shoot the ball, plays point guard for us, which is kind of weird. He's like 6'2", but he just sees the floor. He gets guys the ball, he rebounds, he does everything. I mean, he is definitely one of the most versatile players I think around the area for sure. So he's kind of just a big key, obviously. And then Jackson Aldrich is our I don't want to call him a poor man's big man, but he's not super tall. He's probably 6', 6'1", but the kid has a motor that just never stops. And he does all the dirty work for us, doesn't care how many points he scores. He just wants to, make an impact. And so he does. He rebounds, defends, can score if we need him to. but he's been a kid who didn't play much as a junior, and now he plays 30 minutes a game
Right.
for us. So those two guys, and then we've got Cam Ballard, who probably will be out this week as well. He's got a foot injury, and so he didn't play on Thursday. He's just another senior who's shoots the ball well, plays good defense, really smart, intelligent. Just a steady guy. And then Mitchell George is our other starter, junior, and he's really come on. He's a really good athlete. Could score. He's been in double figures a few times for us this year. So those are our starters, but we've got some bench guys as well that do a lot of good things for us too. So, yep.
Real quick, I just want to ask one quick follow-up to that. You mentioned Ty Randall. I love his game. Talk about a mismatch. Whether he handles the ball so well, he's a big body, he's not afraid to be physical. Like Ted kind of mentioned, Xander gets a lot of the pub, but he kind of almost seems like kind of the motor that keeps your guys' offense going. What more can you tell us about his game?
Yeah, he's. That's what's really helped us kind of hit our stride here. Is that he's just gotten in shape, and he's gotten. He had been being out of sports since this last spring, basically. So it's taken him a while, but yeah, Ty is just a phenomenal, versatile player. He can, like I said, he's a tough mismatch for teams. You put a little quick guy on him, he's gonna take you down low. And
right.
If you put a guy his size, he's quicker than most guys his size, and he's got a great perimeter game. He's kind of the dying breed of he's a first team all conference 3-sport athlete. We don't get those kids. So I think his success in other sports also helps with his confidence. And we weren't even sure we were going to have him this year because we didn't know if he was going to play or not. If he was going to risk re-injuring that because he really wants to play college baseball. Right. And I guess he just decided I'm playing. So and that's kind of Ty. He just does what he wants to do, and he does it well.
Good for him. Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time out on this Sunday morning. I know you're going to have a busy week coming up. We just want to again say thanks for joining us, and good luck the rest of the way. We'll probably see you in districts or regionals.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's fun. Do it again if you ever need.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. Yep.
All right, guys. We're going to finish up this Prep Spotlight heavy podcast, at least this portion. A few other highlights. And again, thanks to the coaches, Matt Weigl and Laingsburg head coach Tim Beebe. Interesting conversations with both of them. Speaking of the Chesaning Indians and Coach Matt Weigl, they downed Weberville 60-47 this week. Mason Struck had 29 in that one. And then the number 9 Indians followed up with a big win over Montrose last Friday night on Z92.5 to improve to 15-0. Struck hit for 25 in that one. Nate Ferry and Matt Volk had 11 each. They have Saginaw Valley Lutheran on Monday night this week. Laingsburg, man, they continue to roll 65-45 in a matchup against Fowler. That's a very good team. A 20-point win. Xander Woodruff hit for 42, a career high, and they have 3 big games this week, including a big matchup with Freeland. I know, Jared, you've been promoting this all season long. You got to be our 3-point podcast reporter at that one, man.
Yeah, I've had it circled, man. It should be an awesome matchup. Projecting ahead, Laingsburg's going to be undefeated. Freeland's going to have 1 loss.
Right.
It's a fun matchup that I wish we had more of. You threw out the idea to Coach Weigl of, Corona and Chesaning, more of those games. It's just a fun matchup that's really 2 very fun teams that can put the ball through the rim. So I'm excited to watch it. And it should be a great crowd at Freeland.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the crowd's going to be great. That gym, I remember you took a picture of Freeland's gym. Just a cool classic high school gym. Yep. But Coach Beebe talked about it. The team maybe last year in the quarterfinals was, maybe a little shell-shocked when they went up against the team like Ecorse.
Yeah.
So you need to schedule teams like this. If you have legitimate state championship aspirations, schedule some of these teams that maybe you might see in the quarterfinals or in the playoffs. So, your guys are ready to go.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about they got Perry coming up this week. Perry now 10-5 after downing Bath 56-39. Joey McGraw-Allen 17 points and 8 assists in that one. New Lothrop down Byron 61-47. Caven Unanks had 24, including 9 of 9 free throws. And the Corona Cavaliers saw Rocky, the head coach, last night at the big event. They downed Kersley by 10 as Braylon Socha hit for 19. In girls basketball, Corona down Kersley 49-36. It's been kind of a struggle for the Cavalier ladies, but Gracie Termier had 15 to lead all scorers in that one. How about the Owasso girls basketball team? Pretty solid season. Scotty Ball Dooley and Danica Dwyer each hit for 20 in Owasso 64-36 FML crossover W against Holly. So some good basketball being played out there by both the boys and the girls.
And it's coming down to the stretch, right? Districts around the corner.
Absolutely.
I mean, I harp on it every week, but it's the funniest thing every week. As soon as you retired, why is there this influx of talent, man? In basketball and football, we got undefeated teams left and right. I mean,
I know.
Come on, you got to think about it, right?
Yeah, they can give all the credit to me for retiring, right?
they wanted Casey to have some really good games to call.
Yeah, it is. And just a side note on that, it is very cool that Casey has been able to step into some successful programs and fun broadcasts. That's a great way to start your career, man. It keeps you fired up. Also, a couple quick notes in wrestling at the MMAC meet. New Lothrop had a couple of weight champions in Blake Wendling, Jack Kohanic, and Colt Simons, actually 3 winners. Ovid Elsie had first place winners in Talon Parsons and Cole Workman, and Duran also a pair of winners in Cam Backus and Drew Allward. Chesaning's Quint Everett ruled at 126. The Wolfpack also won the Laingsburg won the CMAC meet with 5 champions, and Perry's Jackson Porter picked up win number 100 in the 126-pound final. The Castle game of the week coming up this Friday in boys basketball over at the house that Frank built, Clio at Corunna. Cavaliers going to be looking for a little revenge in that one as they took it on the chin against the Mustangs a little earlier this season. That'll do it for the Prep Spotlight, brought to you by Jacobs Insurance Agency. We certainly appreciate all their support, and we'll take a look at a little sports potpourri to wrap up this podcast right after this.